Okay, so as you can see, we're now looking at the R1300 GSA. I've looked around on the internet and I can't find any videos that show the install of the INNOVV K7 front and rear camera system. So I thought I may as well record my installation of it. On my bike at the moment, I've already fitted a couple of front lights, as you can see, and they're connected via the hex cam, which you'll see shortly is located under the seat. And also at the rear of the bike, you can see that I've added above the two indicator stroke tail lights, I've added the extra brake light, and again that's all connected via little modules to improve the visibility at the back of the bike. So just in case you see those cables as I'm installing it and you're wondering why your bike hasn't got them, they're all the extra bits that I've added. Okay, without further ado, we'll get this installed and hopefully it'll be a nice neat fit. Connected, unlock the seats. So my seat's slightly different, it's the Sergeant seat, a bit of comfort. The bike actually came with a comfort seat installed. This is the standard OEM seat, and as you see they're both electric, so you'll see those plugs there already disconnected. Other than that, I've not disconnected anything from the bike. I'll take you through the whole install for those of you that are new to this type of thing. So first thing we've got to do is get at the bike. Unlike on the GS, you'll find a video online with installing these cameras on a standard GS. But unlike that, the layout's completely different. You've got these covers covering everything. So these have got to come off, that's got to come off, tank's got to come off. To get the tank off, you've got to take these panels off. Again, you'll find videos online if you've never stripped your bike that show you exactly the sequence of taking these off. So remove those from this toolkit pouch and deposit them straight in the bin because they're absolute crap, which now frees up this space, and that's where the control unit is going to go for the INNOVV system. Cables are going to come through little hole here, be accessed under here because there's plenty of room under here, so you can get your fingers in and you'll see that once it's all removed. Once these panels are off, you'll see that the cable is going to run down here. You'll have a controller mounted up here which will run under the tank, all in line with these existing looms. There's going to be a camera mounted under the beak at the front, and going to be a camera mounted, in my case I'm going to mount it underneath this rack on the back. Some people use little L brackets, put them near the indicators. Some people put them where I've actually put this additional brake light, so that's not an option for me. But I'm quite happy that it's going to sit underneath there on this floating bracket. Okay, so I've undone these 4 bolts here and these 6 bolts here. They're all Torx 40s, TX 40s, and I've also undone these 2 screws here. They're T30s. So come to these first. The reason I've undone these, normally you wouldn't have to undo these, but if like me you're mounting your camera here, the holes or the bolts I'm going to use one of these, an example, is going to go through there. So it's going to require me to drill a tiny little hole in there. That'll screw through there and into the bracket that will hold the camera under there, pointing backwards. But the camera will still be within the confines of the bike when the box is on top, because that obviously covers here. So it's not like it's going to be sticking right out the back, and even out the box on, it's not going to protrude beyond there. It's only going to come to about there. So that's why I've chosen that as my mounting point. So that's why I've undone those particular screws there. So if we put this to one side and next things need to come off is this, but you will see that it's actually got electrical connections here. So I'm simply trying to lift it off, take the screws out completely because they're not folded on. Struggle with these, they feel released, but that's on there. That's on there. Let's all see this one. There we go. It's this one that's falling out, so let's try that again. It's out. Okay, so we've got 2 torque screws under there. If I'm not mistaken, they're actually 25s. So put T25s over here. This is the bracket that holds the rear brake light assembly on. But even if you've not got the rear brake light assembly, you'll still have these screws because there's another panel behind it, which that's the cover. That's an OEM part. So even, like I say, you can have a light, you'll still have those 2 screws under there. So T25s, put one down there, and you can see this isn't lifting. The reason it's not lifting is because, as I say, you've got this electrical connection here. That cover comes off, obviously, and as you can see, that's what connects to your top box when you've got all fitted. And underneath there are some little cables, and you actually get at those from underneath the back. So when I lift it up, I can actually see in there the connector is just holding a little clip, just like any of these BMW. It's not specific to BMW. Any of these connectors, they come apart first time, or you faff around with them. So just like all of them, it's got a little retaining clip on this one. It's there, so it has to be lifted up at the same time that you're pulling them apart. So if you've got no fingers, that's what we screwed, and there you go. That's now completely off. Let's see, all it was is that was on there like that, and the connector is there. So that's literally just a pull out of that hole, and that's the connector. And all we have to do is lift that little tab there to separate the 2. And again, I tend to put everything together in the order to get them off. That way, when I start putting it back together, I've still got the bolts in their holes, so I know exactly where they go when I come to put it back together. Now, unfortunately, the next thing that has to come off right, you probably don't realise it, but you've been away and come back because sod's law, as soon as I get into something and I'm filming on my phone, what happens? I get a phone. I don't get phone calls from one week to the next. I'm retired. I'm not a big social animal, so I don't get many phone calls. But you can guarantee the moment I start filming, the phone will go. And rather ironically, it was my motorcycle dealer just ringing me to confirm that I'm taking the bike in for its service on Wednesday, which I am. Which is why I need to, bear in mind this is Monday, I need to get this apart, get the things fitted and get it back together. So, stop talking about it, Mark, and get on with it. So again, this panel is unbolted, there's 4 bolts and it just hooks onto the front there. As you can see, we've got extra parts up in here at the moment. I've already got 2 extra cables going to the battery. One is the fused feed for the hex cam, which, as I say, is controlling the auxiliary lights on the front, and the other one, which I remember fitting, but I'm damned if I can remember what that's for. I'll tell you what the other one is as soon as I remember what it is. So as I say, this comes off, but again, it's one of these that's got electrical connections on it, so you don't just undo the bolts and lift it up. You undo the bolts and then you figure out why it won't come off. Just as before, I'm not undoing bolts all the way. So undone. And you see that lifts up, undoes at the front. Now, the other thing this has got attached to it is attached to the back of this little affair here, and it's actually the sensor for the keyless ignition. And all that does is literally just pops off there. When you come to put that back on, you'll notice it's got a bigger cutout here. It's got 3 cutouts, but this one here is bigger, and that has to line up with a bigger cutout on there. But when you come to refit it, you literally just push it on there, and that's it. And that then, when you've got your keys in your pocket or wherever, it's supposed to sense them. Unfortunately, I find when I'm riding the mass of the seat, bulky clothing, what have you, if I've got my keys up here, quite often I'll get the warning on the dash saying you've left your keys behind, and I just move them slightly in my pocket and it seems to detect them again. So why they stuck it there and not up on the dash like every other bike I've had, I have no idea. But as I say, now put this over here, and again left the bolts in it so we know exactly how that goes back together. And still, the only bolts I've got left at the moment are these 2 in my pocket, which are from this bracket. So just so I don't forget later on, I'm going to pop those back in the bracket where they came from. Back to the bike. So the whole process of this is to get this plastic panel off. So the reason we've gone through all this is just take this plastic panel off so we can run the wiring. And guess what? We still can't get it off because we've now got these, which are the hangers for the panniers. It's a case of bolt at the front, bolt at the rear. We'll get that one off. That will lift off. Because that's disconnected from this side, it can stay. The crossbar can remain bolted on. But again, this side has got the electrical connection for this pannier, which for some reason they've decided just to put lights in one pannier. So again, undo these big hefty bolts, which are holding the thing in place, which again are the TX40s. Don't ask me what the torque settings are when I come to put it back together. I no idea what the torque settings are, but I'm sure if you want to ring your BMW dealer, or they've stopped making manuals for these now, or should I say they've stopped producing manuals. It's certainly up to, I think, up to the last models, the 1250s. You could go online, you could download a workshop manual that showed you how you do all these little jobs that you want to do, tells you exactly what the torque settings are and which bolts have to have Loctite on them, etc., etc. But for some unknown reason, they've now decided that they're not going to share that information. I'm sure we've all got our own ideas of the rationale behind that decision. Anyone in any doubt, have a look at Matt Armstrong's channel and the issues he's had with particularly a well-known Italian named French car company. So as I say, this one's now lifting straight off. So again, just so I know where they go, pop the bolts back in, and we won't have any dramas when it comes to putting it back together. Again, following the same routine. So placing these on the desk over here. Yes, workshop bench, call it what you like. That bolts out and there out. That should be ready to come off. But before it can come off, I need to lift that off. I need to lift this one clear. just lift that off there and then put back in underneath the panel. And there's all this in clear in a moment as to exactly why you're doing this faffing about. Now, again, as I mentioned earlier, most modern bikes, cars and everything else, you've got little things added to these plastic panels. The hardest part is the first time you do it, because you're frightened to death of breaking something. Once you've had them apart once, like I have, you know where everything is. So in this one, we've got these two things that are attached here. They look like plugs. In actual fact, they're fuse holders. So if you press that in there and pull, it's supposed to come out. There you go. That's one out. As you can see, two fuses. No, there's no electrics in there. No wires on the other side, so it's literally just fuse holders. And likewise, this one. And again, you need big, strong fingers, but if they're too big, you can't get them in the holes to undo them in the first place. There you go. So that's the fronts out, but it's still going to be attached to the rear. Or more specifically, it's this part of the panel at the rear has to come out. There we go. So that's just held in with two little clips there. Those two go in those clips there. Those two just entered in those holes there. So once you've got that out, again, as you lift it up, just feed that plug back through there. And we've now got the last one connected. This is what I was talking about before. This is connected to this plug here. We're actually going to use that to tap into later on, but for now we need to disconnect it from here so we can get the plug out. What I found when I did it previously, which might be better doing it this way. We'll try it this way. Same again, fingernail in the gap, in the clip, and pull it out. There you go, it's come out. Now, what I found was better last time was to disconnect this. Disconnect this from that. And to do that, we do it from here. That little clip there has to move across. Yeah, it's just a little, I just use a little flat nose screwdriver, electrical screwdriver, whatever you've got in your workshop. No specialist tools required, just tools. And push that little clip across and push that back. And there you go, the two are separated. Obviously that still needed to be disconnected from that, because now we're going to lift that off and leave that connected to this, because it's got the socket on it. So that plastic panel I've just taken out of there, we're going to need to drill holes in that. That's where the whole thing is going to be mounted. Certainly the control box is going to be mounted. So this one now wants to come off. So that screw that I'd temporarily put back in there can come out and then go back in the hole, so I know where it's coming from. Right, so as far as the back end of the bike's concerned, a little bit of dust in there. I don't do dust. As far as the back end of the bike is concerned, that's as much stripping as we need to do to fit the rear camera, fit the control unit, run the cables, positive and negative to the battery, and pick up a switched 12-volt feed on the socket, on the plug, should I say. So we've got everything we need there for probably 90% of the setup. Unfortunately, we've now got to go that way because to run the cables for the front camera, we need to be under this tank. And to get under the tank, as I said before, there's a lot of undoing and stripping. So we'll move the camera and move it around the front and let you see the process that I'm going through. It's impossible to show you absolutely every screw that I'm doing, because I'm working down this side. I'm not going to be bringing the camera around every minute, but it's the same on both sides. It's mirrored on both sides. But there is one particular screw that's right down on the bottom right hand side that you have to undo which is an absolute pain. So when we get to that, I highly advise picking up a set like this. I think it was about £12 off Amazon. E-lead, E-L-E-A-D. That's all got all the torque sizes in that I need. Doesn't come with a ratchet, but again, I bought this ratchet. I've got 1/4-inch drive ratchets with another set, but this particular one, I think it's 120, is it? Yeah, 120 tooth. So £8 to £10 off Amazon, but specifically 120 tooth. That's my super tip for this whole build. Have the right tools. Not in any particular order, but first thing to come off needs to be the screen. I'm shaking. And as I'm getting older, I used to have my hands like a surgeon, like a tree surgeon. Right, got this over here. Next thing to come off is this beak. Now, if you remember, I said the front camera is going underneath here, so this had to come off anyway. But if you feel underneath, I'll take you down. Just trust me. There are 2 screws, one there, one there, and again in the T25s. He says, feeling confidently, yep, T25s. Now, once you've got those out, it's the two halves, if you will, top and bottom half, are actually held together by little clips. So now, I'm just going to get a little lever. I can't remember what I got these levers from. Something I was fitting came with these, and they're really handy. So just pop that in there. That's the 2 halves apart. You can do it with a screwdriver, but if you've got some plastic, it's even better. You see, bottom part, top part, and I've just split the 2 clips. Now again, don't try and lift the whole thing up. Pull it down towards you. The reason being is those little clips there. You start lifting that up, you're just going to bend them at best, snap them off at worst. So as you can see, little clips, that's where the screws came out of. That was in there. And they were the little clips that were in there that we used the plastic lever to separate. And as I said, you've got the beak that comes down here, sticks forward. I'm going to mount one of the cameras here. So again, just like on the rear carrier, there's going to be a little hole drilled there to hold the camera underneath. And whilst that's flapping around in the breeze at the moment, once that's clamped in there with the bolts and the beak's on top, that's plenty rigid enough. The bike's going to be moving around far more than that's going to be moving around on the bike. And that's as far as we need to go with this front section. That they all stay where they are. So I don't think you're going to be stripping out loads of electronics. You're not. What you are going to be doing is taking off these 2 side panels with these wings attached. To get those off, you have to take these panels off. To get those panels off, you have to take these panels off. It's just the way it is. So we can either whinge about it, or we can get on with it and just get it taken apart. So, in a particular order, these little panels on the side, we have 3 screws on the outside like that, and those screws have a little plastic washer in them, so make sure you haven't used that plastic washer. Obviously the screw itself will hold it on, but that little plastic washer will either rattle or damage the panel itself. Not that anybody who owns a GS will know you're not going to hear another rattle or the noise of the engine. So that's it, that's off. 3 screws. And now we come to taking this little panel off. That is just held on by the same 3 screws. So that comes off. I say that's now freed up this top edge, so we can start stripping the top through this top panel. As I say, they go through the silver panel, through the black plastic piece underneath, and hold both pieces onto this sub-assembly here. So that's why they have to come out. So that can come off there. One more screw at the back of this black panel. So we're taking the screw out the back of this black panel. You can't see it from where you're in. Now, I'm going to take this panel off now. This one is one of the scary ones because you come to it and you think, well, I'll take the screws out, but nothing's happening. These are lift up, clipped in clips. So you don't have to shove anything underneath it other than your fingers. There you go, it's something popped up in the middle there. And further down towards the back is another one. There we go. I'll turn this over and show you once I've got the front one out. There you go. So if you were counting, paying attention, you'll notice there were three pull-ups, two at the back and one at the front. And they literally, that panel goes that way and it comes up. So all I did, shove my fingers underneath and get them as close as possible. If you start pulling here or pulling here, you literally risk bending these over. So once your screws are out, you can get your fingers under and push up and it will come straight out. Right. I'm going to cut that bit out. There's going to be a lot of editing on this video. Right, that's three out. Now, there's another screw here somewhere. And that should, yep, that's loose. There we go. A little clip somewhere. Two more of those little clips that go in the side here. And they just pull out that way. So the one that you couldn't see is that screw there. So it's not these two in the winglet or the one on the outside. It's that one there that you have to undo. So your three screws in total are one at the back, two at the front, one on the top. And then the whole thing pulls out sideways because you've got these little clips here. No clips up this end. So that's it. That's your whole thing off. And as you can see, we're getting there slowly. We get to the stage now where we can actually see the tank, which is the whole object of this exercise, is to get the tank off. And so now I will take off this little panel down the side here. You can probably see it better on this side. There's a little panel here. I'm going to take that off next. It's just one little screw at the front. And again, it's got little clips. So there it is. As you can see, one little screw there, and then another two clips, fingers up the back, pull it out. Okay, so I'll leave that side panel in place now. I'm going to come round and do exactly the same on this side. So take the centre section off the tank. On these you don't have to take this that comes out with the panel. You do have to take this tank bag strap holder. Is that the right phrase? It's this little square shaped plastic panel with a metal bar across. Has to come off. 4 screws in 3 square panel. We still use inches anymore? That won't be a 25mm square panel. And again, you have to be careful with some of these screws, because if you drop them, you just know they're going to disappear down there, and they never come out the bottom. It doesn't matter whether you're working on a bike or a car or whatever, they will find something to get hung up on. And they sit on tops of looms and pipes and all sorts of ancillary devices that are under there. And whether they come out on the road and you never see them, but for one reason or another, you just never see them again. As you can see, that's starting to come loose. It's not ready to come off yet, because each one of these, they look like they're just more Velcro for the tank body. And just when you think, right, that's it, I can't see any more bolts, that must be ready to come off. It's not. It's like a little gotcha on BMW. The engineers obviously sat in the brew room, finishing their cup of coffee, thinking, right, we've got to this stage where they think everything's ready to come off, and they've taken all these little bolts and screws out, and they're all torqued 25s. What can we do to just catch him out? And so, in their infinite wisdom, they've created this panel, which not left anything in there, which looks like it's ready to come out, but of course it's not. And another bolt down there. And do you think it's a T25? No. For no reason other than to mess with you, they paid that one $230. All the BMW engineers, design engineers, are sat at home now and watching this video, they're laughing their cocks off, saying, 40. Okay, so where we're up to. I've taken the 4 bolts out of the back of there and the 2 bolts out the front. And this panel doesn't want to come off. And that's because you have to be brave with it, but don't yank it at the back here. Again, it's one of these things where you've got to know where the clips are, and I'll show you those in a second. But basically, you saw what I did there. Thumbs on top of the filler cap, fingers under the side as far as you can get them, and just lift. And that's now coming away. And now you've got the same thing at the front. If I turn it over, so you've got 2 clips at the front. That's it like that. You've got 2 at the front there, and you've got these 2 at the back. So basically all around the filler cap. And don't pull at the back because you will crack it there. So it's again, fingers under there, then get the fingers under there and straight up. And she comes off. Okay, the other panel you want to get off is this one. Again, you probably won't be able to see, I'll show you after. I've put carbon fibre, I don't think it's real carbon fibre, it's carbon fibre look, sticky back plastic, best traditions of Blue Peter, on both sides of my lift up fappy. And that's because even without bar riser like I've got, these the bar mounts will mark the top of this. It's a bad design. Basically, if your bars are anything other than central, that top will hit your bar mounts. So we've now got to take out one last bolt, and that's the one where they're having a laugh. It's not a Torx 40. It's not a Torx 30. Sorry, it's not a Torx 25. It's a Torx 30. So, like I say, they're just having a laugh. The engineers have done it to fuck with you. Oh, can't say that, can we? The engineers have done it to mess with your head. There we go. Right, so we're up to. So take the T30 out, swap back to your T25 because they can to mess with you, and then on each side, that same panel, some T25 screws. Well, two, and you can see that one. So there's your two T25s. So T25 there, same on the other side, T30 out centre. Now, bear in mind you've got power to this, so it's another one of these. Don't just lift it up and try and walk away with it, because you're going to damage something. Lift it up gently. Make sure you don't scratch anything. And then you'll find where the cable goes. And you can just find the little clip, which I will show you after. Can't get the camera in there. There we go. Again, there's a plug. It's impossible to get the camera down there. There's a plug goes on there. This is your USB socket inside the little cubby hole here. So there's a plug, and you just have to press the clip down to get it off, like any of the plugs. But you can't get it. You can't get in there with the camera to show you. Okay, so hold off these two pipes. They're two breathers, one on each side of the fuel filler. So they need to come off. And you can also see you've got another. I'll bring the camera over. Let's bring the camera over, and then you can see what I'm talking about, because I'm talking about stuff that you can't see. Okay, so you've got two fillers. Fillers. Yeah, and this is your filler. You've got two breather pipes, one here and one here, and they just literally push on and pull off from there. There's no clips, nothing holding them on. You just pull them and they pop off. And the other thing I was talking about, if you see, so it's obviously this locks with the ignition. So if you haven't got your keys with you, that's locked. So obviously it's got to have power, and that power comes up this cable here, which runs down here, and we have to disconnect that way down there once we've got these side panels off. Okay. Right, try and get back into it. I've been out and had my lunch. So, been out of the workshop and had my lunch. So, an absolute shed load of bolts on this. I'll tell you exactly how many once I've finished it, but it's a lot. This is where this little ratchet comes into its own. On this side, so you can see it. I won't do the same on the other side. The simple reason it's exactly the same on the other side as it is on this side. So that's our first screw out of there. That's up there. Put the extension on. And again, we're back to the T25s. So my advice is just to tackle what you can see. I'll stand to be corrected, but I don't think that one needs to come off. I don't think that one's holding this panel on. So that's 2. And the third one. That's 4. That's 5. Okay. That's 5. I have 2 on the inside. These are, you can probably see them on the other side, just on the inside of this panel. It's 1 and 2 there. Seven. Right, so the joke by our friends at BMW is this particular bolt under here. So assuming you can still actually see me down here. So level with this, the bottom of this panel, you go all the way in, as far as you can go, and you'll see a bolt. Might be hidden by the loom. They've put a loom under there, all folded back on itself. So just to make it, that little bit tighter. And that's where this metal ratchet really comes into its own. First time I did this, I just had the other ratchet, and it was such a coarse ratchet on the actual tool itself that there wasn't enough room. I've literally got that much room, as you can see, to move the ratchet. That way it hits a drain on the radiator, and that way it hits the casing, so you've got very little room for it to move. So the bolt's obviously loose enough now that, in theory, it's loose enough that the ratchet won't hold, but it's in such a tight spot. There we go. Well, that was considerably easier than it was the first time. The first time it came out, it was Loctited, which made it tight all the way out, and I didn't have the right tool. But anyway, I now have the right tool, and as you can see, this panel is now wanting to come off. So, and then we're talking about. So, if we look up under there, now I have to lie down on my back again. I'm going to show you this one. Okay, so the bolt was in there behind this loom. Now this loom is held in with this cable tie. So first thing we have to do is try and hold the camera and find the cable tie at the same time. There you go. Allow that to come down a bit more. Yeah, so go back up the top now and try and figure out what's holding this together. Okay, so we've got these little air sensors here that need to come off, because obviously we're going to be removing this whole panel. So we need to take that cable out of there. Again, it's a cable tie, so we'll, without cutting the cable, obviously. There we go. That's the cable off. Now, let's take the air sensor out of its little bracket. Go. That's your air sensor there. So that's your air sensor. It's just a little bracket that sits in there. And that wants to go through here, so we don't pull it off when we pull the panel. There you go. And if you let it hang down there, you're unlikely to forget to put it back on. Don't tuck it away somewhere because you will forget to put it back on. Well, I've been away and had a brew and had a think about it, and I come back, and why, I don't know, but there's a screw down there that I've left behind. That's why I couldn't get the panel off. So, get that one out of there. So, I'm doing this from memory. Right. So, how many screws have we got now? Just to recap, we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 10 screws just holding that panel up. Absolute insanity. Okay. So, one up there. 2, 3, 4, 5. One up there, 6. That one up there, 7. And then 3 o'clock, 8, 9, 10. So there's your 10 screws holding that panel on. 2 clips at the back here, which I've already dislodged those. The sensor out of there, which is now hanging down. And you have to fit that loom underneath. You have to sort of make sure you lift it out and over, because you've got radiator pipe under there. Okay, so obviously you've got a light here that's got cable going to it. Pull it out. Now we can get at this little plug here. That's it. I'll show you what the problem was. These 2 clips, there's no simple thing to get hold of. You have to separate both of them to get the plug out. And then we can pop that plug right through the hole. It goes in a lot easier. I can refit that light, which I'll do now. So I've got this holding this DVD in here. Actually, we can just make that. That's out of the way. That's all it needs to be. So we'll leave that down there. And all that was done so we can get the tank off. Absolute madness. Those would have stopped the tank coming out. Ridiculous. Right. We'll do the same on the other side. Okay, I moved you around to the side. Reason being, you remember earlier I mentioned this lock on the tank operates off the ignition, and it means it's again keyless filling and keyless fueling of the bike. What that means is, on top of these, or as well as these two pipes here, which are just vents, you've also got connected to the filler cap here this cable, which you have to trace it back. It then runs up the back here and you have to unplug it. But your best bet is to take this air intake off so it's out of the way. Yep. When these work, it's a that just flares out. So basically, you can take the whole thing out. That pushes in through the hole. If that was the hole, that pushes in through the hole. Once it's in, you then take that and you push that in, and it flares the inside out. If that makes sense. It's just like a roll plug. Makes it do that, so it holds it in. So although it's got a Torx head in there, you really just have to get something behind it, flick it out. I think when it's a certain way out, it will actually unscrew. So, having got that off, that's now free to move. So we will push out a little tool under there, and that comes off, out of the way. We're back to this wire. As you can see, it comes down here. It's clipped in all the way down here. Comes down here to this block here. So we have to take these cable ties off to disconnect that, because the whole thing comes away with the tank. Now we've got one cable tie there. You really do have to be careful that you just cut the cable ties, otherwise you'll be in a world of pain. There you go. 2, 3. Move those. Oops. So that's unplugged from there. There we go. That's what we wanted. So it's a case of push that to the side. Obviously, that was in there. Press that down to unplug that. Then you've got a little clip here. Push it to the side, and that comes off there. Now that's going to come out all the way there. That's going to come out with the tank. So as far as the front of the tank's concerned, that fits into bungs, which will become apparent in a minute. I've got to disconnect these two, move this, and that will lift that up. And if you think that's all there is to taking the tank out, you'd be sadly mistaken. So I'll just move you across here, and you'll be able to see better what we're doing around there now. So they're T40s. You see, I clean them up. Once they were out, I cleaned them up with a wire brush and don't put Loctite back on them. It's your choice whether you do or not. I can do these 25s as well. I've got to take them out to get that back in. Reminds me that they go there. Right, so that's clear. So the only thing that is stopping that tank coming off now, bearing in mind we've disconnected the breathers, we've disconnected the electronic lock, or the cable for the electronic lock. It's held in at the front by, very similar to this, it just wedges in at the front. 2 rear bolts are out, so it's loose. But obviously, the whole point of a petrol tank is that it holds the petrol until it's needed, and that's got to get to the bike. So it comes out the bottom, gets pumped out the bottom. So you've got electrics to the pump, which have to be disconnected, and you've clip-on fuel line on the bottom of the pump that needs to be disconnected. You will lose a little. There's plenty of fuel in this. I can't remember how much is in it. I think it's about half full, which isn't ideal. Ideally, you want it a lot lower, but I'm doing this when I'm doing it, so that's how much fuel is in it. So it doesn't matter that there's half tank of fuel in it, just makes it a little bit heavy to get off. What does matter is that it's not all going to drop out the bottom. It has to be pumped out, so you will lose just what's in the pipe. So in preparation for that, I look around and find a cloth, brought out a couple of things, and I know I need a block of wood because I've only got two hands. Once that's up and out and tipped up, you'll see I'll use a block of wood just to hold it up while I disconnect, because you've seen what a faff it is getting some of these blocks, getting some of these connectors apart. So bars central, so I don't hit the tank on bars. If it was over it, I could hit it. So put that block somewhere where I can get at it. Just put it there, and look at the cloths, and the back should come up now. Yeah. So as we hooked, everything's loose, and there might be a bit more fuel in there than I thought there is, because it seems damn heavy. Right, that's it. So, and we're going to do this as I've done it before. Down there, got my block of wood under there. So, got my block of wood underneath, which is holding the tank up out of the way, which is what I want. So, I'll put my cloths, more than one, down here, just to soak up any fuel that does come out. Okay, so this is the pipe. That was on there like that, and all I did was literally squeezed it both sides, which releases it, and it comes off like that. And there's a little bit of fuel here, which I can use on these cloths. Let it all over the garage floor, and it was literally like a thimble full, and that's just what was pressurised in the pipe. The only other thing to come off now is this, which is the electrical connection in this conduit here, and again that's going to come off, but I'll need both hands to get at that clip off, or to get to that clip off, should I say. So I'll put you back on the stand. Come on this side, have a look at this clip and try and figure out how this one comes off now. Yeah, as suspected, that's how it comes apart. Okay, the tank is disconnected, which for this project is a milestone, because that is the last part to come off. I'm now looking around for the safest place to put this, which is probably going to be over there. So we will steal the mat from there. Put the tank down there, and hope that's the safest place for it, because you don't want to be kicking this around that garage floor. See what I'm saying about the bars. Right. It's off. Okay. So that clip was in that way. Tank was here. That clip was in that way. And all it required was a screwdriver just to lift that little tab up. So basically I just shoved the screwdriver in that gap, and just like that, put that in the gap, and the whole thing came off. Okay, there's your vent pipes. Don't forget to put those back on. And that, as I say, is that. That is that as far as stripping the bike. That's how much you've got to do if you want to properly fit these INNOVV cameras. Right, as I say, that's all the stripping you have to do. Everything from this point onwards is putting the INNOVV kit on and putting it back together. Putting it back together, I'm not going to show in this video putting all the screws back in that you've seen me take out. Once you know where they've come from, you should know where they go back to. So if not, look back on this video and you'll see where they came from. So that'll keep the video a bit shorter. So everything from this point onwards, I'll put a timestamp in the bottom that shows you where this point of the video is, so that everything from this point onwards is about fitting cameras, not stripping panels. Okay, so you rejoin me having fitted the front and rear lights and run the cables. So I'll just show you, there's no point in showing you me drilling holes. So I set back, you can see where the front one's mounted. That's, as I said, underneath the beak. All that required was the drilling of this hole, 5.5mm, to make it nice and tight. And then obviously use the INNOVV bracket with the washer underneath and the screw. And I'll adjust the height and the aiming of it once it's all back together, because that's just a matter of slackening these off and lining everything up. But it's more or less lined up. So the cable for that, as you can see, comes out the back, up the side, between these two panels here. It runs up there, comes out the top, follows the clips. It's clipped in with original clips, so that's the original wiring there. So this has just been added, and ignore the blue cable for now, that's just for pulling through more cables. Then goes down behind the airbox, again comes out where the other cables come out. I'll zoom out of it, that's probably better. So this is the front camera. It's going to be cable tied in here underneath the cross brace of the frame there. Again, it's going to be tidied up and ultimately finish just here, because the box is going to be mounted inside a box that sits in there, and the cables will come out and they'll screw together there. The rear one, now this is dependent on what you've got on your bike. Mine has not got the radar, so because it's not got the radar, let's move that out the way. The radar normally lives in this aperture here, and if I get this bracket, that normally lives in there, inside there, and goes that way up, and the radar is held in place by that. Because I have not got the front and rear radar on mine, that is surplus requirements. I'll keep it for when I sell the bike, because it's just a case of 3 screws and it's back in. It's a matter of taking the camera system out. But because there's nothing in there, I've simply drilled a hole in the cover, and 2 holes, including the mounting. Obviously that's the camera, still with the protective plastic on it. And looking at it from the inside, as you can see, it's just the one screw from the outside through a 5.5mm hole, the original INNOVV mounting bracket, and that will allow me to tilt the camera up and down and aim it left and right. So this, although the camera's 26mm, this hole is 27. Reason being, you need that spare to get the up and down, get the aiming right, which again can't until it's back on its wheels, and I've got more room behind it. As you can see, it's just facing at the door at the moment. So once it's all connected up and I can actually view it on the phone, I'll be able to aim it properly. So that cable will show the routing of that. shortly. But obviously it's only going to here, so there's plenty of cable. You can route it wherever you like. Now, if you've got radar on your bike, obviously that's not an option that's available to you. So you still mount it on the back, but I would suggest using one of the supplied mounting brackets and mount the camera possibly here. So you could take the indicators off. There's the screw, there it is. Hang an L bracket, hang it underneath there, so your camera would be there. But it's entirely up to you. I mean, it's your bike, you decide. So if there'd been a radar in there, that's what I would have done. L bracket there and the camera hanging underneath it, utilising that bolt there. Okay, so another bit of the installation. As you can see, put a bracket here down the back, one of the brackets that came with the INNOVV kit, and use that to mount the GPS controller there. And that's all nice and secure, mirrors back in place. Cable for that one, as you can see, that just runs from the controller, same route as all the other cables, using the original BMW rubber, like sort of their equivalent of cable clips really. Follows the route down, same route under the airbox as the other one, and just like the one for the front camera. So you've got the two cables there in with the others, using original cable tie points there. Same route under here, passing them under that cable there, and ultimately ending up at the back here where they're going to be connected. But just for now, I'll leave them hanging down there. And that's pretty much it for the front of the bike. So I won't put that back together until I'm sure that everything reaches where it should, just in case I have to reroute anything. But for now, that'll be it for today, and then we'll carry on tomorrow. Okay, so picking up where I left off yesterday, the bike is more or less getting to the stage where I'm going to start putting bits back on. Before I do, I want to mount the GPS sensor, which is already lying on the bike. There we go. So this needs to be somewhere that it can see the sky. That doesn't mean to say it has to be literally your eye type of thing. It has to be able to see it. This has to be able to see the satellites electronically. So what I'm saying is, don't mount it anywhere. Like if you mount it in the back end of the bike and then put an aluminium box on top of it, you're not going to get a good GPS signal. So ideally it wants to be mounted where it's got plastic around it. So having looked all around, I put the temporarily, I'll just go and get it. You remember this came off this position here, plug on this side, that mounts on that centre hole there, and those two mount there. And when you look underneath it, you realise there's a nice big area there that's got absolutely nothing in it. It's just empty space, no wires, no pipes or anything. So that's where I'm going to mount my GPS, and that means that the only thing above it is this plastic cover. So electronically, it can see the satellites. Obviously, if you stick a phone in there, it might interfere with it slightly, but it's not going to block the signal completely. So now we come to the mounting options. I'm not going to use the sticky pads that came with it. They give you those double-sided sticky pads, but they were one-use item. So once it's on, it's intended to stay on. So if you mount that there, and then next time your bike goes in, they have to remove the airbox, they're going to have to either take the tape off, and then it's a good chance they're not going to refit it properly. Or alternatively, they're going to have to take the cable out, which you've already cable tied in place. So it adds time to the job, and certainly if you're taking it to a BMW dealer, they're going to charge you for that time. So I've got some of this hook and loop, Velcro, call it what you will, but it sticks on. So one side's going to stick on the air, the other side's going to stick on there, and the two halves will pull apart as and when it needs to come off. So we'll just clean that with a bit of 100% isopropyl alcohol. Is it 100%? 99.98. Why it's not 100%, I don't know. So I'll just give that a quick clean. Get any grease off there, or dust, or stuff they use to manufacture the actual plastic form. And give the back of that a quick wipe. As you can see, that dries virtually instantly. Quick wipe. It's going to dry straight away. So, leave the two halves together. And the hardest part of this job is getting the backing off. And I've got fingernails. If you bite your fingernails, it's an impossible job, this. There we go. And there for now. So I just had some of this in stock. I have a big stock of most things in my workshop. But you can get it at B&Q, Screwfix, Amazon. Any retailer you like will have self-adhesive Velcro, or what other hook and loop, I think a lot of them just call it, because Velcro will be a trade name. And there we are. That's not going to come off there anytime soon. So just decide which way I'm going to mount it. So I think, yeah, I'll bring the cable down the front so it's easy to remove. You can go down there with that pipe. I can actually put the two in there, no problem at all. Possibly cable tie it and down to there, yeah. So that can go on facing the rear. You say it's hard to get off, and it comes off straight away. If I said it was going to be easy, it couldn't come off. We'd still be here this time tomorrow. There we go. So that's absolutely not going to go anywhere. That's on there now. That's definitely staying there. So I'll cable tie that in. You don't need to watch that. And then we'll get on to the next bit of sorting out the loom. Okay, as you can see, that's GPS is mounted there. Just routed the cable under there. And then I've lightly cable tied it. Don't do them too tight because you will crush this vent tube. Obviously, it's just a soft rubber tube and it needs to just vent the fuel, or not the fuel, vent the vapours to the atmosphere. So don't crush it. So just cable tie it nice and neatly and join it in with the other cables here that are running underneath up to here, and they're just sitting here for now until we get round to plumbing them in on this section of the bike. Next thing we need to do is use this red with a purple line on it. That's the switched accessory feed for the left-hand pannier. So we're going to use that as the switched accessory feed, which draws milliamps. You'd struggle to register it on a meter, let alone overload the circuit. This is designed to handle 5 amps anyway. So we're going to just unwrap that a little bit and do a little bit of soldering and heat shrink tubing and put it all back together. And I'll come back to you when that's done. Well, not an awful lot to see now I've actually done it. Suffice to say, now I've got from this on this main loom, which powers the K7 itself, which is this one comes down here. So comes down, you've got 3 cables on it. Red obviously goes to battery positive, black obviously goes battery negative, so they're both connected. I brought them up here along with the others and all held in with the cable ties. That's ready to go to the box at the back. The yellow comes up, it's a fused feed, it's only a 1 amp fuse, it doesn't even draw anything close to that. Brought it up, undone the original tape that was on this, which feeds your accessory socket and your lights in this pannier, and cable tied the 2 together, brought them up, stripped back the red and purple just a tiny bit, soldered in connection in there, take the connection and then taped everything back up. Got a nice neat tap in there. It's the tap's about there, you can't see it. It's all very small and neat and tidy, but that will go back into the plug that goes under there, and that will go back into your pannier. It'll never know it's there. It won't sense it. It won't cause any problems. All it does is switch a circuit inside the unit to tell it that it needs to switch on. When it switches on, it gets its power from there, not from there. And that is basically it. I can now start sorting out this box at the back and test everything before we put the tank back on. Okay, so where we're up to. This is obviously the wrong way around. That's the rear panel that sits on the back of the bike. As you can see, this area here, which we mentioned earlier, is where the toolkit that you've now thrown in the bin usually sits. That's going to sit in there, held in place by elastic bands in case I need to get at this to access the SD card. Normally you can download and buy your phone, but sometimes you might want to get at the SD card. So obviously if that's in there and the cables are outside, we need some way of getting those cables out. So I've drilled these 5 holes here, all 12 millimeters, so each of those will pass through to go to the cables on the other side. There's actually 6 of those for those of you who are paying attention, and that's because one of them's actually going to stay in here, so I only needed 5 holes. One that's staying in here is for the microphone. So in the event that you have an accident, touch wood, he says, but should that happen, you will hear enough on that microphone to hear engines and skidding and anything else that you might want for evidential purposes, which at the end of the day is why you're fitting this. So that's why there's only going to be 5 holes, and the microphone will stay in there. That's the theory behind it. Anyway, we'll now see how it all pans out, because obviously all these cables are different lengths, so I'll have to lose some length off those by just tying them up with cable ties. But that time has arrived now where we actually start putting everything back together, which is good because it's now 11:30 and 9:30 tomorrow morning. I need to be riding this into Manchester for its service. So it all needs to be back together. I don't think they'd appreciate it turning up like this. I certainly wouldn't appreciate riding it. Okay, before I put it all back together, it's in and it's working. But obviously I've got to put all the front end of the bike back together. Back end's all reassembled. And as you can see, even with all the care and attention I put into using cable ties and such like, and routing cables along with the originals, even without the hex cam and the INNOVV system on, it looks like a rat's nest under the seat anyway. So it's the best I'm going to get it, but I'm happy with it. Say all these cables are all cable tied in, following the same routes, the positive and negative all going. Then you come to the back of the bike. You can see there's the control unit in the tail section where the ridiculous toolbox used to sit, and all the cables that do come out the box come to here for connecting up. Obviously that's just for the seat, and the other one is for the other seat, heating. So just to get those out of the way, and you can see actually my setup looks a bit neater than BMW's, but there you go, that's the way it goes. And obviously when you come round to the back end, you've got the rack at the top there, the additional light which I fitted, because otherwise all you've got for tail lights is that and that, which in my view is not just ridiculous, it's dangerous. But anyway, I've added the auxiliary brake light and the modification for the indicators, and obviously part of this video, the addition is using this area here, which if you've got radar, that's in there. Because I haven't got radar, as you know, that's where I've mounted the rear camera, which I think is all very neat, really. And you've seen the front camera under the beak, which I'll show you a final clip of everything once all the panels are back on. Well, as you can see, it's actually all gone back together. The front here, we've got the camera all positioned, bolted up, all nice and secure. From above, doesn't stick out the front, so that's exactly where I wanted it. And then around the rear, very nice, neat installation again. And again, quite happy with the way that's turned out. Okay, well, I hope that video has been helpful. I think I said at the outset that I've seen videos online that tell you how to take all the panels off. I've seen videos online that tell you how to do the K7 install on a GS, but those of you that have seen both the GS and the GSA will know that the architecture, particularly under the seat and around the tank area, completely different bikes. So I just thought it'd be helpful for anybody that wants to do this install on a GSA to have a video that they can refer to. As you can tell, I'm not one of these professional vloggers. Don't make a living out of making these videos. It's purely a case of if something comes to mind that I think will be helpful, I'll put a video out about it. As regards this install, I think the litmus test, as far as I'm concerned, with all these things, particularly with modern bikes, is if it all goes back together and you've no screws left over, that's a win. Until the next video, see you again.